everyone, it's Darla from Crafty Yarn Owl. Welcome to my channel and welcome to a new tutorial. You saw the pictures at the very beginning of the front and back. This is the lovely Peggy wearing this one. I'm wearing this one. They're the exact same pattern. This one's made in a 4-weight and this one's made in a 3-weight. I do the tutorial in the 3-weight. I purposely made the bottom to flap over like that, and I'll show you on here. It's because I wanted to add a button right there, so that's why I did that. So let's take a look at the yarn, but first, before that, I did block this one, but I did not block this one. I don't think this one really needs it. All right, let's take a look at the yarn that I used. For the shawl that Peggy is wearing, I used this Mary Maxim Super Soft, and it is super soft and squishy. It doesn't have a recommended hook size, just a recommended needle, which is a 5mm. So I started off making this with a 5.5 hook, and I thought a 6 would work better, and for me a 6mm worked better for me, so that's what I used. I wanted it to be a little bit more open, so that's why I went to a 6. All right, so this is 72% acrylic, 28% polyester. There's 100 grams in here, 350 yards. It's a medium 4-weight. Care instructions is hand washed in cool water, lay flat to dry. And this has a halo, so they're counting the halo, and that's why they're calling it a medium 4, because it does look thinner than a 4. And this colorway is Sands. Isn't that beautiful? And I used pretty much 2 balls of this. Now for the other shawl, which is the exact same pattern except I had added a button, and I used this yarn, and this is the yarn I'm using for the tutorial. It is Lion Brand Mandela, and it is a lightweight 3, 150 grams in here, 590 yards, 100% acrylic. This is machine washable and dryable. Recommended hook size on this is a 5mm, but I again used a 6mm because I wanted the stitches to be a little looser. And this colorway that I used is called Wood Nymph. Now, this is a ball here that I did not get into at all. I only used part of one ball. And this is what I had left. I decided not to have the colors go in this sequence. So what I did was I separated the pinks, well, I separated all the colors, and I put the pinks for the top of the shawl, which you may have noticed, and then the purples at the bottom. And then I had a little bit of leftover yarn, which was not this color. This color I do have in the shawl, but the very bottom color was just a scrap piece of yarn that I used, which was almost white. So for sure you'll have to have one ball, but you won't be using it all if you made it as short as I did. I made the one with the Mary Maxim yarn longer than the one with the Mandela. First we're going to make a magic ring. right, then we're going to chain 2 for a total of 3 altogether here. And that will count as our first double crochet. And then we're going to, I'm going to pull this tail a little bit to make the loop smaller. And then I'm going to put 3 double crochets in there. Counting that chain 3, we'll have 4 in total. Okay, so counting that chain 3, we have 4 double crochets. And then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to make another 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to pull our tail tight to close up our circle. Okay. Now we're going to, this is what it looks like right here. Now we're going to chain 3, which always counts as a double crochet in this pattern. And then right in that very, very first stitch, we're going to put 2 double crochets in there. So counting that chain 3, we now have 3 double crochets starting off this row. Okay, then we're going to put a double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Double crochet. The next one, double crochet, and in the next, double crochet. Okay, now we've come to that chain 2 space. We're going to put 3 double crochet, chain 2, excuse me, 3 double crochet. All right, so let's make our 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space. Chain 2, still in that same space, we're going to put 3 more double crochets. Okay, and then we're going to go into the next stitch right here and make a double crochet in the top of that one. And a double crochet in the next, and a double crochet in the next. And then we have that chain 3 at the end. We're going to put, I think it was a chain 3, but counting as a double crochet anyway. We're going to put 3 double crochets into the top of that chain 3. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I'm just going to pull my tail tight. This is what it looks like so far. Okay, that was our first row of a 2-row repeat. Next row is going to be a fancy row. All right, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn our work. Put 2 double crochets right in that very first stitch. We're going to put 1 double crochet in the next stitch. and then we're going to chain 1. And now we're going to go into the next 3 stitches. Right, yarn over, go into that next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, pull it up about as high as these other ones, yarn over, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up your loops, yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop. So now you're going to have 7 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to go through the first 6. Now you're left with 2 on your hook, yarn over, pull through those 2, and chain 1. Okay, that's our cute little fancy stitch. All right, now you yarn over and go into that last stitch you worked in. All right, yarn over, go through that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through your next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. You have 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 6, yarn over, pull through the last 2, chain 1. That's how it looks. Okay, now we're going to yarn over, we're going to go into that last stitch we worked in. Just put your hook through there, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through, pull up a loop. So you have 7 loops on your hook. You will always have 7 every time you do this. Yarn over, pull through the first 6, now you have 2 on your hook, yarn over, pull through those 2, chain 1. And now we're going to yarn over, and we're going to put 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in that chain 2 space. And that's the point of your shawl that goes at the bottom of your back. Okay, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2. Make 3 more double crochets in that chain 2 space. Okay, now because we're working on the fancy stitch row, we're going to chain 1 after doing this. So chain 1. Your very next stitch is what you're going to work into. Yarn over, put your hook through, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Okay, yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go in your next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Now you have 7 loops on your hook. Wrap your yarn, pull it through the first 6. Then you have 2 left. Yarn over, pull through those 2, chain 1. All right, so we're going to work in that stitch we just worked in right here. Yarn over, put your hook through that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through. Wrap your yarn, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up your loops, yarn over, go in the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, Wrap your yarn, it goes through the first 6 loops. Grab your yarn, go through the last 2, chain 1. Okay, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left that aren't worked. Okay, so wrap your yarn, go back into that stitch we just worked. Grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up your loops. Yarn over, put your hook through the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up your loops. Wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, and you have your 7 loops. Yarn over, pull through the first 6. You have 2 on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1. Okay, now you have 2 stitches left. We're going to put a double crochet right into that first one right there. And then we're going to put 3 double crochets into that last one. To the top of that one. Okay, that's a double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets. Okay, so this is what your work looks like. So these fancy stitches, you have 3 on each side. Okay, now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to put our 2 double crochets right into that first stitch. Then we'll go right into our next stitch and put 1 double crochet. Go in the next stitch, put 1 double crochet. Go in the next stitch, put 1 double crochet. Okay, so the next one is that chain 1 we did in the fancy stitch and chain 1. We're going to put a double crochet right into that chain 1 space as well. And then we're going to go right on top of our fancy stitch right here, right in that stitch, and put a double crochet in there. And then we're going to go around that chain 1 space, or right into the chain 1 space, and put a double crochet. Put a double crochet on top of that stitch. Put a double crochet in that next chain 1 space. So what we're doing is putting a double crochet in every stitch and in every chain 1 space. Okay, keep going, double crochet in each stitch until you get to your chain 2 space at the bottom. And as your chain 2 space, put 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in there. So 1, 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And now, like on the other side, put a double crochet in every stitch and in every one of those chain 1 spaces. Okay, double crochet in the first stitch, double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in that chain 1 space, double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the chain 1 space. We'll just continue on till we get to the end of this row. Okay, now we're at the end of the row. We have that last chain 3. We're going to put 3 double crochets into the top of it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're going to chain 3 and turn our work around. Now into that very first stitch, we'll put our 2 double crochets. Okay, and in the next stitch, we'll put 1 double crochet. Then we're going to chain 1. In the next stitch, we wrap our yarn. We're going to make our fancy stitch. Wrap our yarn, go through that stitch, grab your yarn, pull through and pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through. Now you have your 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 6, leaving 2. Yarn over, pull through those 2, and chain 1. Okay. Wrap your yarn, go into that stitch we just worked in. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, wrap your yarn, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. So you have your 7 on your hook, grab your yarn, pull it through the first 6, and then grab your yarn, pull it through the next 2, chain 1. It's very important to chain 1. Okay. Because it makes your fancy stitches stand out. Okay, yarn over, go through that last stitch we worked. Grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, grab your yarn, pull through the next stitch. Grab your yarn and pull it through. You have 7 loops. Grab your yarn, pull it through all the first 6. Wrap your yarn, pull through the last 2, chain 1. And I'll show you one more time and then I'll meet you at the point. Okay, yarn over, go through that stitch we just worked. Grab your yarn, pull it through. Wrap your yarn around your hook, go in the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch, pull your yarn through, pull up a loop. You have 7 on your hook, grab your yarn, pull it through the first 6, grab your yarn, pull it through the last 2, chain 1. Okay, continue doing that till we get to the chain 2 space. Okay, I'm almost at the chain 2 space. I'm just going to work my last fancy stitch. I did my chain 1, wrap my yarn, go back in that same stitch we just worked. Put your your hook through, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, grab your yarn, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, grab your yarn, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through for 6, and then the last 2, and then chain 1. Okay, now we're at our chain 2 space, so we're just going to put our 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in that space. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're still working our fancy row, so we must chain 1. Okay, wrap your yarn, go into the next stitch, pull your yarn through, pull up a loop, wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull through the first 6 on your loop, on your hook, and then pull through the last 2, and then chain 1. Like I said before, that chain 1 shows your fancy stitch. I think it makes it pop, but the chain 1 also helps you get to the end of your row evenly. Okay, so your row isn't all bunched up. All right, so I've chained 1. So again, I'm going to go in that. Oh, my supervisor dropped in. Okay, she checked everything and I got an A+. All right, so I've chained the 1. So go in the same stitch we worked, pull up a loop, next stitch, next one. Oh, okay, chain 1. So I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, so when you get to the end of this row, you are going to have 2 stitches left. Okay, I've did my chain 1 after my fancy stitch. So in that first one that's left out of those 2, we're going to put a double crochet in there. And then 3 double crochets in the last one. Okay, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn our work, put 2 double crochets in that first stitch. Now this is the row where we're just going to be doing double crochets in every stitch and in every chain space. Okay, 1 double crochet in every stitch and every chain space. Chain 1 space, that is. All right. So that's really all there is to it. You just have that 2-row repeat. Okay, that was the first row here. And then this is the next row. This is the first row of this 2-row repeat. You have the double crochets and then you have the fancy stitch. Yeah, so I'll let you carry on. Make it as, it's going to grow out wider and longer, so just make sure you make it the size that you want. You can make it huge, you can just make it to cover your shoulders, and go down your back with this point. You can make it so that it's just a cowl, a short cowl that you would put this on the front of your chest, and then the back would tie behind your neck. Yeah, so many options. All right, I'll see you soon. Now I've made quite a few rows and I have finished off with the second of the 2-row repeat. Now I'm going to make a border all the way around, so I have not cut my yarn across the top here. And because I color control, I have all these tails, but across the top here, I'm just going to do single crochets, and I'm actually just going to crochet right over those tails so I don't have to sew them in. And then I'm going to come back down the other side with a cute little border that you might want to make. Okay, so I did my last stitch here. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to go back in to that stitch with a single crochet. Let's see, I'm going to go, okay, going up on the top here with a single crochet. Okay, then I'm just going to simply go across this top with single crochets. You space them out as evenly as you possibly can, and make sure you look back every now and then, make sure your piece isn't pulling too tight. If it is, that means you've not put enough single crochets in, or it's bunching up, that means you've put too many. So yeah, I'm just going through the actual strands here instead of going around them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet you at the end of this row, and then we will start the border around the sides. Now first, if you're not sure how to go over those strands, let me show you. So put your hook into one of these stitches here. Take these strands and just hold them on the top of your work, and then just do your stitch and keep doing that, holding them on the top of your work. And then once you've got them, covered up, nobody's going to see them, and also then you can cut off the excess. You just have to cover them up under just a few stitches. Well, maybe more than a few. I don't know, maybe 5, 6, I don't know. And okay, so I'm just going to do one more. And then you just grab a hold of those strands, and let me get my scissors. And then you just snip them off, and you don't have to sew them in. Just like that, they're buried beneath your stitching. So there you go. Are you gonna move? I don't think she's gonna move. Okay. So I have finished my single crochets all the way across, and now we're going to do kind of fancy stitch. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to go right back in this stitch. Ow. With a single crochet, and then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to go into every stitch along, including the chain 1 spaces. Okay, chain 2, go in the next stitch, chain 2, go in the next stitch, chain 2, and here we have a chain 1 space, so we're going to go right around it with a single crochet, chain 2, and go into the top of our fancy stitch with a single crochet, chain 2, it's a chain 1 space, go into that with a single crochet, chain 2, go into the top of our fancy stitch with a single crochet, chain 2, go into the chain 1 space with a single crochet, chain 2, go into the top of that fancy stitch with a single crochet, and let's take a look. So this is how it turns out. It's just a roughly little edge. What do you think? You like it? All right, so I'll meet you at the end. Actually, I'll meet you at the point of the shawl. Okay, I'm almost at the point. So chain 2, go right into the top of that stitch, that double crochet with a single crochet, chain 2, go in the next stitch with a single crochet, chain 2, okay, have we got one in every stitch? Yes. Okay, then we're going to go into the point with a single crochet, and then a chain 2, single crochet, a chain 2, and another single crochet, and then chain 2, and then do a single crochet in the next stitch, and carry on like that, chain 2, single crochet in the next stitch, and then do them all the way around in your chain 1 spaces and your fancy stitch. Okay, I'll meet you back at the top. Now when you come to the very end of your edging, this is what we're going to do. I've chained 2 there. I'm going to go into that very last stitch right here with a single crochet, and then I'm going to chain 3 and go back in there with a single crochet. And I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. I am doing this because I did it on the other side when I first started. I only did a chain 2 there rather than a chain 3 like I did here. But when this lays on you, okay, I have a chain 2 there at this end, a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then at this end I did the single crochet, chain 3, single crochet in that same last stitch. I'm doing that because I want to put a button, and this button is going to fit through there. So let me check to see what size this is. I got this from either AliExpress or Wish. I'm not sure. Bought a whole bag of them, and it's actually a clock, but there's very pretty flowers on them. Okay, so this is 3/4 of an inch. All right, so I'm just going to pull that through, and then I'm going to put my button here. I've already threaded the needle, and I made sure the eye of the needle is going to go through the buttonholes. And I'm using the yarn that I used here. So just going to go through a couple of times, maybe 3, if I saved myself enough yarn. Yes, I did. So I can go through 3 times to make sure it stays on. And then when I go through to the back the last time, I'm just going to remove my needle, and then I'm going to just tie this together, and then tie these 2 ends together, and then sew them in afterward. All right, so this is how you're going to shawl. Your shawl is going to look if you decide to use a button. It's going to close on the front, and it's going to kind of make like a swooping action like that.